churches typically do sport very poorly. And so that's another obstacle, because the outside person says, I want to do sport, and it's so watered down, I don't want to do it. Not there, not at the church. And that's why we said last time, start small, make your mistakes with fewer people, but have a vision and allow it to grow as you have leadership. But we also think that if you're just starting, you could benefit from some counsel and some wisdom from people who have been doing this for a long time.
So Greg, last time we spoke, you shared a little bit of your story and your passion for local church sports ministry and how you got there. But in your experience, decades of experience in ministry, what are some of the obstacles that come about with sports ministry?
Well, there's a lot of different obstacles, and they come from different perspectives. Sometimes the people that are already in the church, they're struggling because those people are coming in and they don't look like us, they don't dress like us, they don't talk like us. It's a tough thing for them sometimes. So yeah, if we're going to reach people who are far from Jesus, and the people that are doing that have been walking with Jesus for a long time, we would hope that there might be some maturity in that second group of people, but they have to remember that that's where they were at one point too. So sometimes that is an issue, particularly if there's language or there's people come in reeking of certain alcohol or other kinds of extracurricular activities that they're involved in. And we just have to say that Jesus was accused of this too, hanging out with the sinners, so to speak. We're all sinners, even those of us that are trying to reach people that are far from Jesus. Okay, so that's kind of an obstacle. There's another side of the obstacle, and that is that churches don't know how or are unwilling to actually do sport and fitness and do it well. And you got to walk with me on this. I love Vacation Bible School. Mm-hmm. It is wonderful. But Vacation Bible School is a Christian outreach that it has a ball. We need an athletic league that has a Bible. And they're both good, but churches typically do sport very poorly. And so that's another obstacle, because the outside person says, I want to do sport, and it's so watered down, I don't want to do it. Not there, not at the church. So there's a few obstacles like this that we have to overcome. And that's why we said last time, start small, make your mistakes with fewer people, but have a vision and allow it to grow as you have leadership, because if you don't have leadership, it's not going to go well. But we also think that if you're just starting, you could benefit from some counsel and some wisdom from people who have been doing this for a long time. That's why we exist. You know, we have our website with CSRM. We have a lot of resources that are out there with Overwhelming Victory Press that people can say how to do this. So here in a nutshell is what we can do to overcome some of those obstacles. We have to, first of all, build a bridge to those people who are far from Jesus. The bridge is not only what you might do, but who does it. It's the person who is that initial bridge. It's my next door neighbor. It's the person I work with, that I can then, with a relationship, invite them to come and join. But the bridge also has to be that the church is doing whatever is going to be attractive to that person. They really do a good fitness class. They really do a good bike club. They really do a great league. And so the bridge is so important. So it's a person, it's relationship, but it's also the activity, the structure. And then what happens is that person who's over here now comes here, now they belong. They get involved into this group, and they start to sit there and say, there's something about these people. What is going on? There's something here. I feel something. And they're experiencing the gospel. And then that's when you can begin. You've proclaimed the gospel with everything you've done, the relationship, creating this atmosphere, creating this opportunity, and how it's run. And then you affirm the gospel with saying, you know what? You're asking me, how do you do this? And why is this feeling different? And it's because of Jesus. And you affirm the gospel with your words. So that's how we kind of overcome these obstacles. You've seen this happen in your churches and what you've done. You've got a good history with this.
Yeah, I love that you began with relationship, right? And I think that's what we want to see. We want to earn the right to be heard as we engage with people, and hopefully in our strategy and our structure, we teach our leadership and our average member this is okay. We want to engage with relationship because we don't want to just have this be a bait and switch. We want to have the heart behind this through a relationship, but not shying away from truth either.
And say that again, that bait and switch, because that is so key.
Yeah. I think we just want to be careful, right? And I think maybe we don't want people to sniff this out as another Christian thing trying to trick somebody for the sake of numbers. Because, I've seen this work. I've seen people come to Christ. I've seen people make lifestyle changes. I've rubbed shoulders with good Christian people, and in the moment of heated competition, something came out that they were not proud of, and it was a chance to counsel, for lack of a better term, pastorally, care for them, and walk alongside of them. So I think beginning with relationship, then tying structure to it, is what we want to see happen. Tell me about, Greg, if you would, the obstacle, perhaps, maybe the listener here is thinking of this. The obstacle is, we get all these people, great, now what?
This is one of the most crucial questions, Dan. You're so astute to bring this up. And we phrase it we summarize it with the word intentionality, intention. Because if a local church does not have as their goal to bring this person who's far from Jesus all the way to a faith in Jesus that then continues and matures, that their behavior and who they become, and even on their burial, somebody can say they lived the life with Jesus and have that one last time for their life to have an impact. If the church does not think that through, it doesn't get done. It's accidental at best. If it's not intentional, it's accidental at best. So, you can create this atmosphere that you've bridged them. Now they feel like they belong to this community, and they can now be asked to come to belief in Jesus. But if the church doesn't prepare their people, and the leaders of the church don't create the next step and the next step, then it's not going to happen. More than likely, the church that you or anybody that's watching or listening to this has, how do people find the church? There's a sign out on the road, and it says, such and such church, turn left. And then you pull into the parking lot, and then there are signs that point you to where to park and where to walk in to the sanctuary or the gym. And then once you get in the building, there are signs that say, if you want to go there, and here's... It's the same thing that church has to do with this person who's far from Jesus. What's the next sign? What's the next sign? What's the next sign? The sign doesn't have to be a physical sign. It could be to some degree, but it's a person. It continues with that relationship. And so this is what happens in most typical churches that want to reach people who are far from Jesus. They do a 6 or 8 week course and say, this is what you say to people. And they give ways to say the gospel, to proclaim the gospel with their lips. Okay, it's all good. But then most of the churches that I've worked with in this regard, at the end of a year, there's little, if any, success. We trained them. Why didn't they bring people in? Because there was nothing to bring the people to. The church didn't create these experiences. And it doesn't have to be sport. It could be Alcoholics Anonymous. It could be divorce recovery. It could be a lot of things. But what we've even found with those, that if they start in the sports league and then they come to divorce recovery, that they get divorced, and now, oh, your church has it. That's the intentionality, step by step. And certainly, if somebody says, I want to follow Jesus, I've been doing this league now for the last 3 years, and you pray with them, then when they pray, what's the next thing? We start talking about, how do you become baptized? How do you get into Bible study? All these kinds of things. So that's another area that it's got to be intentional.
So what I'm hearing you say is there needs to be a pathway.
Absolutely.
A discipleship pathway.
That everybody needs to know.
Yeah. I think what you said, a lot of people would understand, but I think a lot of times there isn't that strategy that begins with relationship to actually care about people, and then there aren't clear next steps. And so in our sports ministries, we have to have that.